Classic August weather is here. It's hot and humid out there. We're calling for a heat advisory from now until tomorrow. We're also in store for some isolated showers tonight. Meteorologist Rachel Frank will join us in just a moment to talk about where the rain is headed. But first, we continue to follow breaking news in Enfield, where a police investigation is underway. A stretch of Moody Road has been closed since early this morning. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Annette Montgomery. Let's get right out to Fox 61's Alicia Hercules. Alicia, you've been out there all day. What does that scene look like right now?
Annette, I've been working to learn more information about what's going on here on Moody Road. The road has been closed for hours as the investigation continues. I'm going to step out of frame so you can take a look at what we are seeing here. We've also been seeing some vehicles driving up that hill. A few hours ago, we also saw officers in FBI jackets walk into the building here on Moody Road. What looks like a state police van has also been parked on top of that hill for several hours now. Enfield police officers have been directing traffic away from the area. The only people who are allowed to drive down this stretch between North Maple and Elm are those who live here. There's still no word on how long the road will be closed. Now, I did reach out to state police who say this is an ongoing and active investigation, and they don't believe there's any threat to the public right now. When we learn more information, we'll let you know. But for now, live in Enfield, Alicia Hercules, Fox 61.
Alicia, thank you. A 20-year-old man was killed in a hail of bullets last night in Hartford. Police say they found Richard Williams dead inside a car in the area of North Canaan Street. One of our reporters counted more than 10 bullet holes in that car. Police are still looking for the shooter or shooters tonight.
Let's get right back to weather now. Rachel, with these temps, you can't help but step outside and sweat, and that humidity factored in.
Oh, it just feels like you're swimming when you're walking through the air today. It's that combination of heat and humidity, like you said, and we do it all over again for one more day tomorrow. So a weather impact alert extends into tomorrow evening. Here's a look at the current heat index, up to 98 in Hartford, near 100 in New Haven, and also Putnam right now. It feels like 83 in Groton, so a little bit of relief for southeastern Connecticut. And with this heat and humidity, there could be an isolated shower or thunderstorm. We're seeing one right now approaching Kent and moving into Sharon as well. So a brief downpour, gusty winds, and you can also see some lightning strikes now in northern Litchfield County. This is moving really slowly. I mean, about 15 miles per hour. So heading into Kent at about 6:20 or so. New Milford heading closer to about 6:50. So it is just crawling along. Some towns get a quick downpour, but most end up staying dry, and that's going to be the same as we head through the coming days. Temperatures right now are in the 80s to near 90 degrees. That weather impact alert for one more day, but it is still hot and humid as we head into this weekend. We're still sweating. We'll explain. Your full forecast is coming up.
With early voting underway, we have a warning tonight about a phishing scam. Victims are asked to click a link to verify their information, but end up getting tricked into giving away their personal data. These messages pressure people into acting by lying that they will lose their voting rights if they don't respond in 24 hours. Secretary of the State Stephanie Thomas says never give out personal info over text or email.
These scams that we're warning about are not impacting anything like changing votes or trying to see how people are voting or interfere with the voting process per se, but they know it's election season, and when something comes in marked urgent, people might stop and or click before stopping to think.
Now, cybersecurity officials at the federal, state, and local level are all involved in maintaining election integrity, and they will be on the lookout for these scams.
And another election news in the gubernatorial race, Governor Ned Lamont is running for a third term. But for the first time since taking office, he's being primaried. And one of his opponents is State Representative Josh Elliott. Fox 61's Bridget Burlow spoke one-on-one with both candidates.
You've seen the fiery ads in the race for Connecticut governor as Democrats decide on their nominee. Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont is seeking a rare third term, something not done in more than 20 years. But Connecticut State Representative Josh Elliott says it's time for a new direction.
The race for the Democratic nomination for governor is heating up, with both campaigns flooding the airwaves with sharp attack ads as primary day draws near.
You know what they say, politicians are like diapers. Change them often and for the same reason.
Josh Elliott has missed 240 votes.
Incumbent Governor Ned Lamont says he wants to finish the work he started by building on the state's economic momentum and investments in education, housing, and health care.
We balanced the budget 8 times in a row. More money for education, more money to invest in people, early childhood endowment. I want to get that over the finish line, and I've got one big piece of unfinished business: health care costs. I want affordable health care for everybody.
Health insurance is a signature issue for primary challenger Josh Elliott, so much so that the state representative from Hamden wants to do away with the industry altogether.
How do you square that with us standing in Hartford, the insurance capital of the world, with many people voting this primary who work in the insurance industry?
Yes. What I find about people that work in the insurance industry is they actually agree with what I'm saying. We have massive market failures. You can spend one night in the hospital, it could be $50,000. Obviously, the system doesn't work. And so we can't just say there's nothing that we can do. We, of course, absolutely can. And so what we do is we create a public option. We bring people onto the state plan, we grow it bigger and bigger and bigger, and we do that as a public-private partnership until the point is we're big enough, we say, no, thank you, we don't need you anymore, and we do it ourselves.
Lamont is running on his record, making the case that his leadership has put Connecticut on strong financial footing at a time when cost of living is a focus for voters.
When you talk to voters across the board, affordability is the top concern. More and more people struggling to get by, pay the bills. They say it's affecting their quality of life. What will you do as a third-term governor?
Well, we eliminated the income tax for working families. I just came from an event where we've raised the minimum wage as of January 1 to about $17.50. One of the highest in the country. You want to talk about affordability? Start by paying people more and then build more housing. You're not serious about affordability unless you have more housing where people can get their first home and a roof over their head.
Elliott says he's the progressive candidate on the ballot with fresh energy and ideas.
We no longer can be dealing with somebody who holds our state back. That's Ned Lamont. I think it's time for a change.
He's pledging to make Connecticut more livable for the middle class by adding a 4% surcharge on income more than $1 million and tax and capital gains at a higher rate.
I'm willing to take on these fights for the families of Connecticut that are struggling day in, day out. The quick things are the taxes. That's because that is what we have control over right here, right now. We ask the wealthy to pay their fair share. We send significantly more money back to our municipalities. It brings down property taxes. It helps out working families.
With the campaign growing increasingly contentious, both candidates are on the offense as they urge Democrats to turn out and make their voices heard.
And for critics that say, oh, you're not progressive enough, what do you say to them?
Those critics were here in the Capitol building long before I got here. They never got a minimum wage increase like we did. They never got paid family and medical leave. They never got universal early childhood education. Talk is cheap. Look what we've done.
The fact is, the message I'm talking about of making life easier for people, this is a message that works. And the reason I know that is because Ned Lamont has wholesale been taking our entire message and running as though he's a progressive Democrat, which is great because it means that more people are aware of what we're talking about. The problem is that we actually elect him, he won't do any of the things that he's saying he'll do.
The winner of the primary will advance to November's general election to face Republican nominee Ryan Fazio.
Latest polling gives Governor Lamont a 21-point edge over Elliott. Early voting continues through this Sunday with primary election day Tuesday, August 11th. And a reminder for you that you must be registered to a party to vote in Connecticut's primary. In Hartford, Bridget Bjorlo, Fox 61.
All right, Bridget, thank you. There is a prime piece of land on the Stratford waterfront that's begging to be developed. The problem is it's polluted. It's a 77-acre site that's been home to an Army plant, Sikorsky aircraft, and others over the years. But now a new group has bought the land, and as Fox 61's Jamel Johnson reports, they're getting creative in their quest to give it new life, and that's saving time and money.
The old Stratford Army engine plant has seen a significant cleanup effort this past year. After making substantial progress, leaders are now looking toward future redevelopment plans while continuing to honor the land's rich history.
The Army plant cleanup effort was only supposed to be in the early stages. The initial plan was for it to take more than 4 years and cost well over $100 million. However, Jim Cabrera with Point Stratford says the group found a different solution.
We used sheet pile walls to create a temporary reservoir, allowing the dredging to proceed without the influence of tides. This public-private solution delivered a profound benefit. It cut 24 months of the project schedule. It was completed for $74.6 million and over 2,000 less truck trips through the local roads.
Due to the heavy machine operations at the historic site, the land was impacted by chemical pollutants and heavy metals. Department of Energy and Environmental Protection Commissioner Emma Semino says work from the dredging is now being poured back into the land.
The completed remedy moved the effective sediment from here in the water to the upland. Some of it was trucked out, but a lot of it is capped on site and is actually being used to raise the levels of the land. That's to enable its development going forward.
The project is now accelerated well ahead of schedule, and for leaders working on the effort, it's time to start thinking of future development. Stratford Mayor David Chess says this cleanup marks a new beginning for the city.
This historic site, which has served Stratford, Connecticut, our country, and the world in countless ways over the last 100 years. Where we stand will be a magnificent waterfront park, extending from Bird's Eye Dock all the way to Short Beach, opening up miles of waterfront to the public for the first time in over a century.
Once development begins, leaders say neighbors can expect boardwalks, attractions, green spaces, and apartments, just to name a few. Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro says the past 2 years of work have made significant progress to these future developments.
We're off to a strong start, my friends. Protecting the environment is not something that we can ever do perfectly, but it is something that we must do our best at. I believe that we can create a better future where manufacturing, industry, and a clean, thriving environment can coexist together.
Now, leaders have emphasized this project will not be a fast one. Work will likely continue even after the first ribbon cutting, but just like the last 100 years, it'll define Stratford for years to come. In Stratford, Jamel Johnson, Fox 61.